Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salamu ala Rasulikal Kareem. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad. Kama sallaita ala Sayyidina Ibrahim wa ala ali Sayyidina Ibrahim fil alameen innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma barik ala Sayyidina Muhammad وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما باركت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. This morning is really a very special morning because the month of his blessed birth, alayhi salatu wassalam, started two days ago. Today is the 2nd of Rabiul Awwal, which by the majority of scholars is the month of his blessed coming. And the coming of the Qur'an is obviously connected with the birth of the Prophet ﷺ. This month, let's increase our salawat upon him. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad. كما صليت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما باركت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. This was the year of the elephant, Amul Fil, 570 according to a rough calculation, and this is 570 years after Isa alayhi salam, the last messenger who came before the Prophet alayhi salam, and who foretold to Bani Israel the coming of the one who is the most praised, Ahmad alayhi salatu wasalam, the praiser, the most praiser. Inshallah, we are going to reflect on his two names of praise today. And the second reason why today's class is very special is that this is coming towards the end of this almost 240 page tafsir of Surah Al-Fatiha by Imam Al-Razi, and it is really a summit, the high point of his reflection on Surah Al-Fatiha. Today he is going to take us through a journey of time and space, and how time and space, which are the two, he says, the greatest creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, are connected with Surah Al-Fatiha, and how Surah Al-Fatiha, which we said before, which most scholars also say, contains the entirety of the Quran, and everything we need to know, everything we need is in this short surah. I don't know if we are going to be able to finish Surah Al-Fatiha today, but if not, inshallah, maybe next time we'll come to the concluding session. Allah knows what he will cast in the heart today. But I'm really looking forward to this hour together with you, inshallah. Inshallah, we are going to be able to reflect together. I hope everyone is in the state of reflection on the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala this morning. Just let me get this started properly. Allahu Akbar. As I promised a while ago, one day, inshallah, we are going to have a session on Imam Razi, but I just wanted to add today that his connection with Ray and Iran, therefore, was very recent in the life of the family because his grandfather came from Mecca to Tabaristan, and sometimes afterwards the family moved to Ray, which is now just outside Tehran. And the mystery of his grave, I also came upon one of the first biographies written, which was almost just less than 100 years after his passing away. Why we don't know where his grave is? Because he actually died in Herat, according to this biography, in Afghanistan. These countries are just lines drawn on the map, like they just keep changing boundaries. But the general region of the earth is known. So he is just an amazing scholar. So Bismillah, to share the screen. Please let me know if you can see, or if you don't see, then let me know. Otherwise, I assume that you are able to see. This first part of the tafsir, these 250 pages, they have been translated. Translation isn't too bad by Suhaib Said, although, when it comes to translating the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or anything connected with it, it's just a very difficult task. But nevertheless, let's begin. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Know that the greatest of the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is time and space, because everything else is contained in time and space. And therefore, when we say time and space, we have a very clear idea of the manifestation of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is in terms of the appearance of something that we can perceive. We do not perceive Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but we know his names, and among his names is Al-Awwal wal-Akhir. Now, Al-Awwal wal-Akhir has two aspects. First of all, these are the sifas, these are the characteristics of time. And then we have Wazahiru wal-Batinu, and these are the characteristics of space. Now, Imam Razi connects these four, وَكَمَالُ هَذِهِ الْأَرْبَعِ, their perfection is in Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. So time and space are the two of the greatest creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And these are very difficult to comprehend. He says that أَمَّا الْمَكَانُ فَهُوَ الْقَضَاءُ الَّذِي لَا نِهَايَةَ لَهُ. والخلاء الذي لا غاية له وأما الزمان فهو الامتداد المتوهم الخارج من قاعر الظلمات عالم الأزل إلى ظلمات عالم الأبد. Now these are technical terms, al-azl and al-abad. There are two extremes, he says, two nihayas, extremities, not extremes, but extremities. Yani this is the beginning of time and the end of time, al-abad and al-azl. And likewise, the space, and this is very interesting, I mentioned the other day as well, that he was one of the first scholars to say we don't have universe, but we have multiverses. So in this conception of the universe, we of the space, we have multiple levels of physical reality, and this reality that we deal with is only one of those multiple levels, and there is no end to space. And we are not talking about the space of this visible cosmos of Sama Dunya, no. We are talking about the entirety of space that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created. So both are almost impossible to conceive by our mind. As for time is concerned, Imam Razi says it's like a river flowing from one unknown to another unknown, unknowable to another unknowable. Al-azl wal-abad. Yani al-abad is the, he says it's just surrounded by zulumat, it's surrounded by something hidden from us. They are just as if there is a continuity of flow, just like water flows from one end to the other end, like from a river to the ocean, for example. Is it clear that these two greatest creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, makan, which is space, and zaman, which is time, they have two dimensions as far as we can conceive. Number one is the beginning of time, and the other is the end of time. And both are conceived by him as if they are coming from the unknowable, hidden source of the beginning to the hidden end, when the time itself would come to an end. Wal asr. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes oath on time itself. As far as the space is concerned, that again is inconceivable by the human mind, because there is no possibility for the human mind to be able to grasp the vastness of space that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created. And even just in terms of what we normally read in terms of cosmology, the physical cosmology, the time, for example, 14.7 billion years. Like how can we even conceive that? And likewise, when we talk about space, going to galaxies and farthest reaches of the visible cosmos of just this Sama Dunya, and that's not even Sama Dunya from the Quranic term, but we see is just a tiny part of that. So these inconceivables these inconceivable entities have conceivable subparts. Time, for example, time is a fascinating creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and no one has time these days. Everyone is just short of time. I don't have time. That's what everyone is saying, because the barakah has been lifted from time. And this is the most general condition of our time, that no one has time. Where has the time gone? We still have the same period between the sunrise and the sunset as Imam al-Nawawi had, and in his short 44 years, the amount of scholarship he has left behind. Imam al-Ghazali, Imam al-Razi, they had the same day. So where has our time gone? So it's the barakah in the time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the ability to really benefit, because we have fixed time. Everyone knows that. When we came into this world is known, and when we will depart, will become known once we depart. So this is a measurable, fixed amount of time. As far as zaman is concerned, the space is concerned, Imam Razi says, if you have understood the enormity of these two attributes, then know that every single, and this is from a hadith as well, that every single unit of space is filled with the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we know, إِذَا عَرَفْتَ هَذَا فَنَقُولُ, if you have understood this, we then say al-haqqu, the truth. The truth is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has an arsh, and he has a kursi. He has an arsh, he has a throne, and he has a kursi, a footstool. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says associated his footstool with space by saying وَسِعَ كُرْسِيُّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. His kursi encompasses, it stretches over the samawat and the earth. And he connected zaman, he connected time with arsh, because he said وَكَانَ عَرْشُهُ عَلَى الْمَاءِ. He said that his arsh was on water. And this is one of the most beautiful metaphors of time that our tradition. Imam Razi is not the first one to use it, but this is really a huge metaphor, connecting time with water. Kana arshuhu alal ma, that his arsh, his throne, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's throne was upon water. He says, and this is because the anna jari al-zama yashbiha jari al-ma. فلا مكان وراء الكرسي ولا زمان وراء العظمة. أزمة صفة العرش، فهو قوله حسبي الله لا إله إلا هو عليه توكلت وهو رب العرش العظيم. He says, this is really beautiful. He says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala connected the manifestation of space with his kursi by saying that his kursi, wasi'a kursiyu samawati wal ard, his kursi encompasses the samawat and the earth, and he connected the time with his arsh, with his throne, when he said Kan arshu alal ma, his arsh was, his throne was upon water, and water is the metaphor for time. And as I said, this is one of the really very abiding metaphor for time, connecting time with water. Both flow, both have very mysterious qualities. Both are totally independent of human control. And there is no makan, and there is no space beyond the kursi, and there is no time beyond the arsh. And the Huwa Rabbul Arshil Azim, he is the Rabb of Arshil Azim. Azim, here he says, is the perfection of the majesty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَا يَعُودُهُ حِفْظُهُمَا وَهُوَ الْعَلِيُّ الْعَظِيمُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Al-Ali Al-Azim. Now, this is going to be a little bit difficult, so I'm going to go a little bit slow because these concepts are real, they are very foundational, and they are slightly difficult to understand. Know that elevation and greatness, al-alu wal-azma, are two levels of perfection. Darajat al-kamal. But the darajat al-azma akmalu wa aqwa min darajat al-alu. وفوقهما درجات الكبرياء. الكبرياء ردائي والعظمة إزاري. There is a hadith Qudsi saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that the quality, the characteristic of Kibriya is my cloak and Azma is my lower garment. And he says that what we wear on top is superior to the lower garment. Therefore, Al-Kibriya, which is very difficult to translate, Kibriya is something beyond which there is no station. Is the Kibriya is the superiority, is the ultimate kibr, the pride, haughtiness as well in the negative sense. But al-kibriya is the sifa, and beyond all of these two, above all is the attribute of jalal, of majesty, which means the transcendence of his essence and unique reality above resemblance to anything that we can conceive. The beauty of these concepts is just coming as he is going to connect this with the Fatiha. But this preamble is really, really important to understand, because otherwise the connections will be lost. So to repeat, number one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creations include space and time. These are the two of his greatest creations, because everything is contained within space and within time. Space is connected with the attributes of al-zahir wal-batin. Al-zahir is the manifest and al-batin is the hidden. So manifest and hidden, zahir and batin, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala manifested his attributes through the creation of space. And because the space is unknowable, the extent of space is unknowable, one aspect of space is what we can perceive, this earth, this sky, the sun, the moon, the galaxies, the entire cosmos. But the other aspect is batin, is hidden from us. So Zahir and Batin, these are the two names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, connected with space. Al-Awwal wal-Akhir, the first and the last. And one of the fundamentals of our Aqidah, that we believe in Huwa al-Awwalu wal-Akhiru, he is the first and the last. And there are two aspects to this. When we say this, we mean that he is the first and there is none preceding him. Wahuwa al-akhiru, and he is the last, there is none who would outlast him. So these are the double understandings that there is. Number one, he is the first, and by that we further specify, by that we mean there is none before him. And this is where really Aristotle went wrong, because he could not conceive the beginning of matter. He didn't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He could not conceive the beginning of matter, and he had to have, matter was there, matter is there, and the question arose, where did the matter come from? And he said, it always existed. It's eternal. He could not conceive the creation of matter. Therefore, he ended up with a huge mistake. And so everything, which is so fundamental in his system, that everything that he said is batil, is incorrect, is false, because his foundation is wrong. And once the foundation is wrong, the building may have accidental beauties or accidental correctness, accidental reality or truth in it, but the foundation is wrong. So those accidental qualities don't make the foundation right. So the entirety of our contemporary Western civilization is based on his thought in a very deep way. And that's why it's all wrong. We cannot really have the two systems. And when he came to the Islamic civilization, when he was translating, it created a huge rupture in our tradition, intellectual rupture. And Imam al-Ghazali really, he died in 505 Hijrah, 1111. He really produced the ultimate synthesis of all that had preceded him for the previous 3 centuries. And traces of those remain even now. And Imam al-Razi, who came almost 100 years after him, was really another summit in that whole process. And he's going to relate all of this with Surah Al-Fatiha. So going back to the aspects of the 4 aspects which we need to understand before we begin the connection with Surah Al-Fatiha. So know that the 2 darajat, the 2 perfections that he mentions, the one that is higher than the other, the one that is higher than the other is the elevation, the greatness. Elevation and greatness are the 2 levels of perfection, but the level of greatness surpasses that of elevation. Now, these are technical terms. You have to understand them in their own. Al-alu wal-azma. Al-alu wal-azma. And when we say Allahu Akbar, and this is the connection he's going to make, that is even higher than these 2, because the kibriya is higher than the greatness, al-azma. وَيَبْقَى وَجْهُ رَبِّكَ ذُو الْجَلَالِ وَالْإِكْرَامِ. تَبَارَكَ اسْمُ رَبِّكَ ذِي الْجَلَالِ وَالْإِكْرَامِ. So we say these because he is without doubt. These are the darajats, these are the grades of perfection that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned. Is it clear that when we enter Salah, and we say Allahu Akbar, what are we doing? We are referring to the kibriya. We are referring to the sifa of kibriya, of the. It's hard to translate Allahu Akbar. We say Allah is greater. So we are going to enter the Salah with this understanding that Salah is the miraj, is the ascension of the believer. And what is it that we are doing in Salah? What is the ultimate aim of performing the act of Salah? When we enter the Salah, obviously, as I always say, there is the legal aspect. By law, everyone who has said Ashhadu la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, we have five prayers. And sometimes you hear these, oh, you have to say 5 times, you have to pray 5 times, oh, you have to fast the whole month of Ramadan. Like these are statements, from non-Muslims. I cannot do this. This is too hard. You have to do this. Even for Muslims, like do I have to pray? So there are levels, right? There are levels of understanding. Yes, we have to pray. This is law, period. There is no exception. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when you enter a covenant, you say Ashhadu la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. You accept that Allah is my Rabb, and you accept that the Prophet ﷺ is my Prophet. So whatever Allah has commanded to do, we have to do that. And if we are following what we are saying, if we are not hypocrites, if we believe in what we pronounce with our tongue, if that's in our heart, but that is the very lowest level, lower level of understanding of our deen. What we really want to do, what we really intend to do when we are getting ready for Salah is we are yuriduna wajh. Yuriduna wajh. We are seeking the countenance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Falam, he says, no, and this is so beautiful. This just reminds you of Imam Ghazali. Imam Ghazali, Falam, no. He just holds your hand. أن المصلي إذا قصد الصلاة صار من جملة من قال الله في صفاتهم يريدون وجهه ومن أراد الدخول على السلطان العظيم وجب عليه أن يطهر نفسه من الأدناس والأنجاس ولهذا التطهير مراتب. Subhanallah. He says, if you are going to enter even the court of a sultan, you would prepare yourself, you would wash yourself, you would put on good clothes. But just imagine, you are going to enter you are seeking the continence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So wouldn't it be obligatory for you to purify yourself from all kinds of impurities? And there are two kinds of purities, the zahir, like the apparent, and what is inside. And there are stations, there are darajas, there are different levels of purification for different kinds of people who are all seeking the continence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yuriduna wajhu. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself has defined his ibad as those who seek him, his continence. That is the ultimate reality of salah. That is what we are doing. Of course, we are fulfilling our legal obligation, but that is just one level of understanding. Each time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides us 5 specific times in a day. And one of the reasons that barakah is lifted from our lives is that these times are not utilized to renew, because there are shayateen acting upon us, and Imam Razi is going to take us to those doors. So every time we come upon the time of salah is a time to throw shayateen out of our beings, re-enter the space and time full of barakah, full of blessings, renew our situation for the day. And it's just 5 times purification, as the Prophet ﷺ, if the river is flowing in front of your house and you dip in 5 times a day, you should be clear, pure. Surah Al-Fatiha is Surah Al-Salah. And we begin by purification of the nafs and purification of the body. And the body is obvious. So he doesn't even go into the details of the outward, although everything we do has deep meanings when we wash ourselves. It is connected with the inner states. And when arada dahulu ala sultan azim, even for the kings of this world, you do this. But in this case, nafs is the focus. What is it that we need to purify before we enter the salah? Number 1, at-tathiru min ad-danasi zunubi bil tawbah. The first, it says, is the purification of the nafs of our whole being from our sins, and that purification is through tawbah. So when we are doing wudu, when we are getting ready for salah, one of the things we need to purify, simultaneously purifying the physical body, is to purify ourselves from our sins by repentance. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu tubu ilallahi tawbatan nasuha. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that, O you who believe, return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through a sincere repentance. And this repentance, this purification depends on our station, because remember, we are walking, we are all walking. The day we came into this dunya and the day we will leave this dunya is a journey. And in the journey, we are at different stations. We are in different states in this journey, and each one of us is unique. Everyone has his or her own specific place and station on the path. Physically as well, like age-wise, although we don't know when we'll die, but there are number of days, number of hours, numbers of minutes, number of seconds. They are just continuously going out from our account, and when they expire, we are gone. Therefore, each one of us has its own. So, وَمَنْ كَانَ فِي مَقَامِ الزُّهْدِ كَانَتْ طَهَارَتُهُ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا حَلَالِهَا وَحَرَامِهَا. So the one who is in the station of zuhud, I don't like isms, but zuhud is, we have an entry on zuhud, I think it's in the first volume. Zuhud is a Quranic term, and this means that the one who is in that position, in the station of zuhud, is removed from the dunya, both its halal and its haram. Yani the heart is just free of the dunya. وَمَنْ كَانَ فِي مَقَامِ الْإِخْلَاصِ كَانَ طَهَارَتُهُ مِنَ الْإِلْتِفَاتِ إِلَى أَعْمَالِهِ. The one who is at the station of ikhlas, station of sincerity, his or her purification is taharatuhu min al-iltifati ila al-amali. So his purification is regarding the amal. This purification at the station of sincerity min al-iltifati ila amalihi is from his own deeds or her own deeds. What does that mean? وَمَنْ كَانَ فِي مَقَامِ الْإِخْلَاصِ, the one who is at the station of sincerity, which is the higher station than zuhud. His purification is regarding his own deeds. It's the characteristic of those whose sincerity in deeds is uncorrupted. Like this is more difficult than zuhud. وَمَنْ كَانَ فِي مَقَامِ الْمُحْسِنِينَ كَانَتْ طَهَارَتُهُ مِنَ الْالْتِفَاتِ إِلَى حَسَنَاتِهِ. Muhsin is the one who is in the station of ihsan. Excellence is very poor translation. Ihsan, al-jazaa al-ihsani illa al-ihsan, is the reward for ihsan other than ihsan. Muhsinin are those who are, it's a very high station, but it's connected with reward, jaza, ihsan. This is a very high station to be muhsinin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has these stations in the Qur'an for us. These are the stations of the journey. And so, Khana min Zahidi is Zahid, and then that is abstinence from this dunya. The heart is empty of this dunya, both the halal and the haram. And then the ikhlas, and then ihsan. But there is a higher station. وَمَنْ كَانَ فِي مَقَامِ الصِّدِّيقِينَ كَانَتْ طَهَارَتُهُ مِنْ كُلِّ مَا سِوَى اللَّهِ. Subhanallah. The station of the Siddiqeen is the station of those who are totally free from everything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They don't even look for the reward. And Bil Jumla, he says, in short, فالمقامات كثيرة ودرجات المتقاربة. There is no end to it. There is no end to the maqamat. There is, because this is just the journeys. Maqamat are known, stations are known, this journey is known. This is our deen. This is the documentation that has happened in our deen. And but because his focus now is to take us through the journey of Surah Al-Fatiha, he says that's enough. So it doesn't mean that there are only these Zuhud and Ikhlas and Ihsan and Siddiqeen. There are other stations, but there are too many to focus, he says. كما قال فاقم وجهك للدين حنيفا فطرة الله التي فطر الناس عليها لا تبديل لخلق الله. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us on fitra, and he says that know your own station. And this is again one of those huge things. Do we even know ourselves? Remember in one of the previous thematic study of a Qur'an session, we had mentioned that this saying, the one who knows himself or herself knows Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we don't even know, and not knowing really is a calamity, because this is a form of punishment that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has for those who forget him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes them forget themselves. وَلَا تَكُونُوا كَالَّذِينَ نَسُوا اللَّهَ فَأَنْسَاهُمْ أَنفُسَهُمْ. Don't be like those who have forgotten Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he has made them forget themselves. So it says now that if you are ready to enter the salah, really, if you want to be among those who are seeking the continence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then stand up straight and bring to mind all of God's creation in the worlds of bodies and spirits. Begin with yourself, pondering on all your simple and complex parts and all your natural, animal, and human faculties. Now, he is going to take us through this very personalized journey of entering the Salah. And he says that in order to really seek the goal of the Salah, which is the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our beings, in our lives, which is the reorientation 5 times a day, which is to really enter every time we enter Salah. We enter the Salah with the consciousness, awareness of who we are. Where are we in our own journey towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And this is not a static process. And we begin with ourselves. We are standing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as we know from the hadith, he sees us even if we don't see him. And he says, bring to your mind, bring to your consciousness everything in the alam. Bring to your mind the physical entities that surround you, yourself, your walls, your place, your any outside, the sky, the sun, the stars, the animals, the particles of sand, and then keep going ila sama dunya, towards the sama of dunya, towards the sky of this dunya, and bring to your mind what is in the sama of this dunya, all the planets and stars and sun and moon, and then keep going until you reach Sidratul Muntaha, until you reach the other samawat, until you reach the understanding of the fire and understanding of Jannah and the kursi and the arsh, and then bring to your mind the malaika, the angels which are recording what you are doing, and the other angels going up and down and making their journeys, and Jamii Samawat, in all the 7 Samawat. And as the Prophet ﷺ has told you, Ma fi samawati, and this is the hadith I was mentioning before, Ma fi samawati ma'adi'u shibri illa wa fihi malakun qa'imun aw qa'idun. There is not even a handspan of space in the samawat where an angel is not standing or qa'idan, or sitting. And there is nothing that is static. Everything is in motion. If you look at the stars, as we were looking at last night, the stars, if you wake up in the morning at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and you look at them again, they have moved. Everything is in motion, and your salah is going to be an organic process of moving towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and his arsh and his kursi is moving and being carried by angels. And ma ya'lamu junud rabbika illa hu. No one really knows the junud, the troops of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, except him. So once you have understood that you are just a little tiny particle, not even that, of all of this big creation, and then you say Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar takes you to the beginning. This Allahu Akbar is the real Allahu Akbar, because now you are saying Allahu Akbar with the understanding of your own place, and Allah is greater. And everything that He has said, everything that you have brought into your own being is nothing, and we don't even know what else is there, and then we say Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. And he says this is only the first understanding of Allahu Akbar. The second, he says, is called al-ihsan. The salah, as the Prophet ﷺ told us, that al-ihsan is as if you see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when you're standing. فَإِلَّمْ تَكُنْ تَرَاهُ فَإِنَّهُ يَرَاكَ. If you don't see him, he is seeing you. So when you say Allahu Akbar, you really are saying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as if you are seeing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and say Allahu Akbar. This is the second. And the third aspect of Allahu Akbar is to really say this Allahu Akbar is to cut off, is to remove totally everything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from your consciousness, just to remove it. And the third aspect is to begin to enter the salah with this understanding of that you have Allah is greater than everything else. Therefore, uh, you say Allahu Akbar to really purify yourself, remove yourself from concerns, from everything else. Now you are really facing, standing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you're saying Allahu Akbar. Yet, one more aspect of that is that and this is the level of really uh, being able to acknowledge our shortfall. When we say Allahu Akbar, we are really saying that, Ya Allah, you are greater than everything. You are greater than all that exists. And whatever shortcomings I have, I acknowledge all of that. I acknowledge that you are greater. And because you are greater, you will forgive me. Walam ayyul abd. No, oh, the servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even if your intellect were to reach out to the entirety of this cosmos and you bring everything to your mind and you understand everything, you haven't really understood an iota of anything yet. And Jalal and the majesty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is higher than that. So after that, we are really now, we have entered the stations of Salah. So from the beginning of the Salah, we are going to begin the journey with Surah Al-Fatiha. And this is really amazing connection that Imam Razi is making here with the Salah and the Fatiha. So after after entering the Salah and after bringing to mind all of that, what he said, he says that you begin then passing through the Sharia to the Tariqah, to the Haqiqah, and the encounter with the stations of the prophets and messengers. And when you say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, you see this word, for it was by his name that the samawat and the earth took form. And when you say Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, you see the hereafter as it is established by the word of praise. And the close to their cry will be, all praises for Allah, Lord of the worlds. So we are really now entering the summit of Imam Razi's reflections on Surah Al-Fatiha. So from the Sharia to Tariqah to Haqiqah to the Darajat al-Anbiya wal-Mursaleen, فَإِذَا قُلْتَ بِسْمِ اللَّهِ الرَّحْمَنِ الرَّحِيمِ. So when you have said Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, you understand that this whole creation is the manifestation of Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, because the Bismihi, because in the name, with the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the samawat and the earth are surviving, because in the name, because without the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nothing would survive. Remember we did this the day. This is really the secret of the existence of everything. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when we say Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, we are then reaching out to the Akhirah. Because, and these are not empty things, because everything is based on the Quran. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that this is the saying of the people of Jannah, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. وَإِذَا قُلْتُ الرَّحْمَنِ الرَّحِيمِ فَأَبْصِرْ بِهِ عَالَمَ الْجَمَالِ وَهُوَ رَحْمَةٌ وَالْفَضْلِ وَالْإِحْسَانِ. He says that when you say Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, when you say Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, you are entering the Alam al-Jamal, the Alam, the word of beauty. And this is the Rahmah, this is the mercy, the Fadl, the bounties, the Ihsan, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you. وَإِذَا قُلْتَ مَالِكِ يَوْمِ الدِّينِ, when you say Maliki Yawmiddin, you are observing the Alam al-Jalal, the majesty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمَا يَحْصِلُ فِيهِ مِنَ الْأَحْوَالِ وَالْأَحْوَالِ. وَإِذَا قُلْتَ إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ فَأَبْصِرْ بِهِ عَالَمَ الشَّرِيعَةِ وَإِذَا قُلْتُ إِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ فَأَبْصِرْ بِهِ الطَّرِيقَةَ وإذا قلت اهدنا الصراط المستقيم أبصر به الحقيقة وإذا قلت صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم أبصر به درجات الأرباب السعادات وأصحاب الكرامات من النبيين والصديقين والشهداء والصالحين وإذا قلت غير المغضوب عليهم فأبصر به مراتب الفشاك أهل الآفاق وإذا قلت ولا الضالين أبصر به دركات أهل الكفر والشكاك والخزي والنفاق على كثرة درجاتها وتباين أطرافها وكنافها. Subhanallah. So this is his tafsir of Surah Al-Fatiha. He says that when you reach the station of Ar-Rahman Rahim, you observe the alam of Jamal, which is the mercy and Fadl and Ihsan, the bounties. And when you say Maliki Yawmiddin, you observe the alam of Jalal, the alam of majesty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when you say Iyyaka na'budu, you are in the alam of Sharia, of the law. And when you say Iyyaka nasta'in, you see the tariqah. And when you say Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim, you see the Haqiqah. And when you say Sirat al-Lazina an'amta alayhim, you see, you observe, you experience the stations of those who have been blessed. And these are the Nabiyyin, these are the prophets and the Siddiqeen and the truthfuls and the Shuhada and Salihin, the martyrs and the righteous. And when you say غَيْرِ الْمَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ Absir bihi maratib, you see through this those who are fusaq, ahli al-afaq, those who have gone wrong, and then kufr and disobedience and shiqaq and all the bad things. Subhanallah. And when all of these things, once these lofty stations have been realized, unveiled to you, do not think that you have reached the end and destination. Rather, return to confess once again, Allahu Akbar, Allah is greater. And then you make your ruku. When you make your ruku, then you observe the azma, the glory be to my Lord. You say Subhana Rabbi al-Azim. And if you wish to appreciate an atom of the attributes of greatness, then know, as we have explained, that it is also an attribute of the arsh, and no creation can grasp the enormity of the arsh, even if they strove to the end of time. Yet the greatness of throne, the greatness of arsh will be even higher. Subhanallah. So this is up to Ruku. Well, I would stop here. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the tawfiq to enter the salah this afternoon when we enter Salatul Zohar. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the tawfiq to enter Salatul Zohar in a few hours with this understanding. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on Imam al-Razi. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase his darajat. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant him his blessings and mercies. We are so fortunate to have, not fortunate, that's not the right word, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with this deen, with these scholars. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. يا الله أنت حليم كريم عظيم تحب العفو فاعف عنا يا كريم. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. اللهم افتح لنا أبواب رحمتك يا كريم. اللهم افتح لنا أبواب رحمتك. اللهم افتح لنا أبواب رحمتك. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. اللهم يا شافي اشفنا اشف صدورنا وبطوننا من كل داء. اللهم إنا نستغفرك لكل ذنب يدعو إلى الغي ويدل عن الرشد اللهم إنا نستغفرك يا كريم. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Please remember to increase your salawat in this month, although every month is requires that, but inshallah we remember the coming of the Prophet ﷺ more and more in this dunya, in this month. And salatu wassalamu alayka ya Rasulullah. We address him. As-salatu wassalamu alayka ya Rasulullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.